Welcome to Hammond Law Group Immigration Update. My name is Dwight Myfelt and I'm an attorney with Hammond Law Group in Cincinnati, Ohio. Have you seen the May 2015 Visa Bulletin? The cutoff date for EB3 Philippines is amazing. In 1 month, the Department of State moved the cutoff date from October of 2014 all the way back to July of 2007. That's a retrogression of over 7 years in just 1 month. What in the world could have possibly prompted the Department of State to move the date that far back in just one Visa Bulletin? It's a great question, and it's what we're going to talk about today. Each month, about a week after the Department of State releases the Visa Bulletin, the American Immigration Lawyers Association sits down with Charlie Oppenheim, who's the guy over at the Department of State that sets the cutoff dates in the Visa Bulletin each month. Ayla asks Mr. Oppenheim for some information about why certain categories move forward or backward, and then they ask him to make some predictions about future movements in upcoming Visa Bulletins. We've been looking forward to Mr. Oppenheim's comments because this is one of the best ways we can get information about why categories have moved like they have. We weren't disappointed. Mr. Oppenheim offered 2 explanations for why EB3 Philippines took such a big jump back this month. First, he explained, USCIS experienced a huge jump in the number of visa numbers that they asked for the green card cases that they've been processing in the last 6 to 8 weeks. The second explanation he offered was that USCIS has not been providing him the kind of advance information that he needs in order to start slowing the category down and addressing problems like this sooner rather than having to do it all in 1 month. So what's the purpose of the Visa Bulletin? Each year, a limited number of employment-based green card cases are available to each country throughout the world. If more people from that country apply for green cards than there are green cards available, a wait list is created. Each month the Visa Bulletin is released to announce which of the cases on the wait list are going to be allowed to be processed in coming months. The goal of the Visa Bulletin is to regulate the number of cases that are filed throughout the year, so that at the end of the year there aren't any green cards that are left over that aren't used, and there aren't any cases that are filed that don't end up being processed. It's extremely difficult to do given the fluctuation up and down each month in the filing of the cases, and that's why sometimes the dates in the Visa Bulletin move forward and backward. If it weren't already difficult enough to figure out how to set cutoff dates when you don't know how many people are going to file in coming months, it has to be virtually impossible when you don't even know how many people are currently pending in the system. One of the reasons that Mr. Oppenheim says he isn't able to accurately set cutoff dates is that he doesn't have all the information he needs from USCIS in order to make that kind of decision. So why is it that he doesn't have that information? Don't forget there are 2 distinctly different government agencies that handle the final processing of green card cases. One of those is USCIS, who handles all the cases for people currently in the U.S. Those are called applications to adjust status. The other agency is the Department of State, which handles all cases for people that are outside the U.S., and those are called consular processing cases. Mr. Oppenheim works for the Department of State. He has all the Department of State information. Unfortunately, he has no way to force USCIS to give him information about how many cases they have pending, and apparently they are either unwilling or unable to do that. Without that information, it's extremely difficult to figure out how to set the cutoff date so that you can properly regulate the filing of cases throughout the year. So what happened in March and April that caused Mr. Oppenheim to think he had to send EB3 Philippines all the way back to the dark days of July of 2007? Apparently the answer is a huge spike in the number of cases that USCIS used in this category. Mr. Oppenheim reports that in the 6 weeks prior to the release of the May Visa Bulletin, USCIS used more than 2,000 green card numbers for the EB3 Philippines category. That represents more than 60% of all the numbers that they used in this category in all of last year. He also said that in the 10 days immediately before the release of the Visa Bulletin, USCIS used more than 900 numbers in this category, which is more than 25% of all the numbers that they used all of last year. With shocking demand numbers like those, Mr. Oppenheim pretty much had no choice but to slam on the brakes for EB3 Philippines until they could figure out what was going on. So where does that leave us now? We know that recent demand at USCIS has been through the roof, but we don't know if that's going to continue. Mr. Oppenheim says he hopes to continue the EB3 Philippines cutoff date throughout the summer, but he won't speculate as to how quickly it will move or how far it will get. We don't have a projection at Hammond Law Group either. In order to make an accurate projection, you need access to some information that we don't have. First of all, you'd need to know exactly how many visas are available for this category. We know that normally that's in the neighborhood of 10,000 visas a year, but we don't know exactly because it changes every single year. The second thing you need to know is how many cases have already been processed this year. We know how many cases have been processed recently at USCIS, but we don't know how many cases they filed earlier in the year. We also don't know how many cases have been handled by the Department of State, which typically handles a lot more than USCIS. The third thing you'd need to know is how many cases are still in the pipeline. While Mr. Oppenheim may know how many are pending at the Department of State, we're pretty sure he doesn't know how many are pending at USCIS. Without those three pieces of information, it's virtually impossible to make an accurate prediction about what's going to happen. All we can do is continue to watch the release of Visa Bulletins and see how the dates progress. To keep up to date on this topic, make sure to follow us on our healthcare blog and on our YouTube channel.